Are we in a recession? Well, only time will tell, but one thing is clear. Economic uncertainty is here. Business owners are saying it, and I'm going to show you some stuff today that will really help you understand what is happening in your business and what to do about it. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to deal with economic uncertainty with a sharp focus on small businesses. So most of you wake up every day and to some degree or another look at the news, and you're seeing stories like this. Are we at a recession? Are we like literally knocking at the door? And signs are pointing to yes. And I want to show you a few things that I look at that I want you to be aware of, whether you look at them again or not. And the first is what is economic policy uncertainty. I'm going to click on this because first I want you to understand what the term means, and then we're going to look at the chart and I'll show you how to interpret a little bit of what's there. So economic policy uncertainty refers to the lack of clarity or predictability regarding government policies that have economic implications. Now, it is really important that I say this right now. This video is not about politics. This is about what is happening economically and understanding what to do about it in your business. We will not be speaking about anything related to politics, so you can set that aside. So when we look at economic policy uncertainty, this is a measure that has been tracked for a long time. And this is the chart in which it is done. I'm going to look only at the last 10 years because I want you to zoom in and be able to see something really interesting. Let me make my face smaller. So let's look at where we are right now. This was March data. So you can see, based on the way this chart is going, we're starting to head up. There is more economic uncertainty than we had in, say, 2024. And it is mounting and it's shooting up quite rapidly. And the way it looks is strikingly similar to what happened during pandemic and COVID times. So if we look, in 2020, remember it was March when the world starts to shut down and we kind of reached this all-time high of economic policy uncertainty around May of 2020. And things do obviously then cool off when we get this period where things are relatively normal. So the question mark is like, where does this go from here? And none of us can know that. We can't predict the future. But what we do want to understand is like, what does this mean? So as business owners, I want you to now understand another metric and to understand what it means related to how your customers and your clients are buying from you. We need to look at consumer sentiment. So consumer sentiment, and let's define it first. It's derived from surveys that ask Americans about their current financial situation and their expectations for the future. So it's saying, how do you feel about the future? Are you optimistic about it? Are you pessimistic about it? And what we can see looking at this chart, and this goes back before 2010, we can see over here 2025, it's at 52.2. And even back to the pandemic, where you can see this line is marked, where we did hit a recession, the number was higher. Consumers were spending more money then. They felt okay about it. They felt like things would turn around, but this is significantly lower. In fact, it's one of the lowest numbers we've seen in a long time. So April's number was down 8% from March, but it's also below the 20-year average. And you see that laid out in the chart. So the way to think about this and why it's important to understand it is that consumer sentiment affects B2B and B2C. In the B2C, it's obvious, right? If it's a consumer that's buying a product like this mug, they may be thinking like, I don't know, how much money do I have in the bank? What do I feel like is going to be happening in the next couple of months or year? Am I confident in my earning capacity? Do I think I'm going to get laid off from my job? Do I need to hoard money and hold it back? Or am I happy to spend it? As that consumer sentiment gets lower, people don't spend as much. And that obviously is visible in what we would call like, not the top tier income earners. So if you're in like the 1%, you're going to still spend money, maybe a little differently, but you're still spending. But sort of that middle tier of America, or certainly those that have low incomes, you're dramatically affected. And as soon as these fears start to mount, we spend less, less, less. Now, to be clear, this also affects B2B. So you might be selling to businesses and you're noticing that they are pulling back their spending or minimally slowing down, or they're starting to negotiate with you on price. They're pushing you harder there. And that's because businesses are just people, right? It's just people together doing a thing. And they're looking at the same numbers too. They're also looking at their cash flow in their business. They're also looking at their own customers and clients and trying to make sense of, is now a good time for me to spend this money, or do I need to be holding back? So consumer sentiment really, combined with economic policy uncertainty, does affect how people spend money in businesses and directly, consumer or business. So let me close a couple of these tabs because I want to come over to an article that we just wrote. We put out a survey to the Hatch Tribe community, which is made up of small business owners and entrepreneurs. And it was 4 questions because we wanted to get a pulse on how business owners were feeling about what's happening right now and what it's causing them to do. Right? So the first question we asked was just, how confident do you feel about reaching your financial goals this year? Actually, that's not the first one. Let me scroll up, babe. I moved on down the page. The first question was, how does your revenue to date compare with your 2025 goal? And what we found is that 75% of businesses are not meeting their goals. And the biggest chunk of that is this 46.4. That's nearly half of the audience is missing their target by 15% or more. Now, I want to illustrate something that's in some data in the earlier slides that I didn't show you, but it's important to understand. When it was January of 2025, so just a couple of months ago, sentiment was quite strong. The economy was going to go in a great direction. I think it was more than 50% of economic pundits essentially were saying, we're set up for a really great 2025. And the perception, really carried for many of us as business owners to go great, I'm going to set some aggressive targets. I'm feeling really good about it. And again, this is not political. It's not about I'm not making any political statements here. It's literally just that things look good. It felt like things were moving in a direction that was going to be strong economically. So many of you set aggressive targets in your business, but now you're watching this going Jesus, we are not on track. We're not on track in Q1, and I'm not sure if we're going to be on track in Q2. So the other questions we wanted to dig into was to understand what's going on behind the scenes, because we don't want to tell you, we want to hear it from you. And what we heard about your biggest challenges in your business was 1, generating leads. Well, yeah, if people are concerned about spending, they pull back, they kind of get out of the buying cycle. These external factors, economy, politics, AI, etc., are driving concerns. The inability to close sales is concerning, right? So if our pipeline is slower, we're having a hard time getting leads. Obviously, it's harder to close them. And what we're also finding is that business owners are feeling burnout or a lack of motivation. And I want to say, I understand. This is what happens during moments of real challenge in a business. It's easy to be motivated when you've got that money coming in and you're yeah, let's go. But when you go into work every day and you're reading the news and you're Jesus, are we headed into a recession? And all of my clients seem to be disappearing, or they're slowing down or pulling back. Yeah, I understand why you may be feeling burnt out or overwhelmed. I have felt that too, to be clear. So again, digging a little deeper, it's just we keep finding the same thing. Our clients are spending differently, and we're worried about what's happening economically. And those two are directly related, as you've just seen. Now, despite all of this, many business owners actually do still feel confident about reaching their goals. I had to refresh that because I had an old graphic there. 36.7 are optimistic about their ability to reach their financial goals by the end of the year. But the biggest majority, this 42.9, they ranked at 3, which means they're just indifferent. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm not going to reach it, but I'm not saying I am. And that's a crappy place to be in. And being in a position of indifference often will lead people to not take action. And that is really concerning because this is not the time to sit back and one, play victim of the world, but two, to just let that fear or uncertainty or doubt drive the decisions that you're making. So what I want to give you today are 5 things that you can do and you should do right now in the economic climate that we are in. You should take action on these things. So the first one is I want you to revisit your goals. It is really important that you understand that the goals you set in January or maybe in Q4 may not be the right goal anymore. We're just sitting in a different economic climate, and it would be ridiculous for you to keep hanging on to that goal, recognizing that the world and the circumstances is shifting and changing. It can become very demotivating to stay on a goal that's actually not the right fit anymore. It's not only not motivating for you, it's not realistic anymore. If you think about the SMART goal framework, it's like we've fallen out of the realistic part, and it's also demotivating for your team. So if you have team members that are being held to the financial metrics or performance of your business, and they're looking at the goal going, babe, you're smoking crack, we're not going to hit that goal, change it because you want your team to be motivated. So remember that. We want to recalibrate the goals. Number 2, I want you to be focusing on cash flow over growth. One of the things that really kills business owners is when they have not conserved enough cash to be able to ride the wave, which does happen during times of economic uncertainty or when business slows down. I don't want you to go out of business because you didn't have enough money to ride the wave. So it is really important right now that you're running like stay true to your business budget or revisit it and start to pull back some expenses that you do not need to incur, and make sure that you are being very clear about the stuff that you need to retain. Now, I want to say this right now. I have talked to clients that have had to make some very hard decisions. One of them had to let go of multiple team members because they actually had a grant from the government that was shut down because of the work with Doge, right? That was a decision that they had to make. Okay. Another one had to pull her entire team back 25%. So she went and said, I don't want to lay off any of you. I want to keep all of you, but the business is in jeopardy right now because all of their clients were slowing down their spending. So they made the decision to pull all of their team members down 25% on their pay. They also said you can work 25% less, but that's challenging. And what's amazing for her is that they just landed a deal that's going to allow them to go back up to full salary for their team. So just understand that some of these will be temporary decisions that you need to make. So just sharing, like put everything on the table, but make sure that you're really clear about keeping cash flow in your business. Next up, you got to stay front and center. And by this, what I mean is don't go dark. This is not the time to stop marketing your business or stop promoting it and opting out because you think that nobody's watching. They are. They just are not ready to pull the trigger on the purchase. So it is important to use this time to continue to build your brand, to continue to build trust, authority, credibility. Do things like what I'm doing. Put out videos, still send out your newsletter, still provide thought leadership on whatever you can in your industry. Still stay involved and engaged and in front of your audience, because when the market shifts, and it will, you want to be the company or you want to be the person that they think of when they are ready to spend money. If you're not, somebody else is. Remember that. Up next, I really need you to take care of you. As the leader, the CEO of your business, it's really important that your health is good, because if it's not, and I mean that in mind, body, and soul, you are not running your business well. This is being a leader. True leaders understand that they cannot burn themselves into the ground and be at the highest capacity to show up for themselves, the business, the team, their employees, even to produce the work that they do. So and this is the one thing, if you take anything away from this, I really hope you hear this today. It is important that you separate your self-worth from what is happening in terms of the sales and revenue of your business. If you're not landing deals, that doesn't mean you're a crap person. It doesn't mean you're a loser at all. It just means that there's some stuff going on right now. We have to sharpen our tactics and get back out there and go after it. So just remember, you've got to separate your self-worth from the results happening in your business. Stay strong in mind. That's the growth mindset. It's really important that you stay there. And the last piece is I do want you to stay flexible, but stay the course. Um, Successful businesses, the ones that last over a long time, they don't stay rigid to like, we have to do it this way. They understand that things will need to ebb and flow, but they keep their eye on the bigger picture. It's like, what's the big vision we're going after? You anchor into your mission, you anchor into your vision, you anchor into your values, and you're like, that still stands. I might have to change the way I'm getting there, but I'm going to go and I'm still going to make it happen. And don't let that frustration shut you down. Your customers and your clients will come around. They really will. When that consumer sentiment improves, when that economic sentiment improves, they will come around. You want to be the person that they come to when they're ready. So I hope that's helpful. If you have any questions or concerns or thoughts, this is work that I do. I work with business owners, probably like many of you that are watching this or listening right now. I work with you to help you make sense of what you need to do at this moment in time. That can be during hard times like this or during good times. So to be clear, if you want some support, I do offer free business consultation, business coaching, strategic business coaching consultation. And you can book that. It's 30 minutes. We can talk about what's happening in your business and see if there's a fit for me to work with you and to help you get a better result in your business. So don't hesitate to reach out, and I look forward to talking to you. Hope this was helpful. Let me know. Did you like this? Questions, thoughts, concerns? Hate mail, whatever, drop it. Talk to you soon.